First Amendment.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Not for war and occupation. Not for war and occupation.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 200 people here at the Occupy Wall Street anti-war protest for the 17th annual aerospace.
Money for jobs and education. Not for wars and occupation. Money for jobs and education.
Not for wars and occupation.
Money for jobs and education.
Not for war and occupation.
Well, here in Midtown Manhattan, it's the end of the conference wrapping up, so about 200 protesters now making circles in front of the entrance of this building. It's a building owned by the financial services company called Credit Suisse, and this is where 30 of the nation's top representatives of the nation's 30 top aerospace and defense contractors are meeting with corporations, Wall Street corporations, to talk about financing for the next several years through their growth planning processes. This is what takes place. Many people drawing this meeting as the direct nexus between what's going on Wall Street, a group of people viewed by many Americans as the nexus for the American financial crisis, and of course the aerospace and defense contracting industry, which is of course used by the U.S. government to execute U.S. foreign policy in wars overseas. Many of the people here are talking about the money that the U.S. government spends to supply or to buy supplies from these companies, whether it's bombs, aircraft, munitions of all kinds, satellite equipment, you name it. Those are the kinds of things that are the people in this building are talking about financing in terms of getting Wall Street companies to invest in their corporation. A lot of people who are here today point to the $1 trillion spent on both the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. The money they feel that could have been spent in other places. And a lot of these aerospace and defense companies profited from that $1 trillion that was spent. In fact, the budget for the marketing and lobbying for these companies is right up there with the gross national product of some small countries. $144 billion that is spent just in lobbying U.S. government officials by this lobbying group that represents the U.S. military-industrial complex. Now, many people here today, as we said, are out here in front. They've been out here since this morning trying to disrupt this meeting. Police are out here in full force. Earlier today, some 25 people were arrested trying to block the entrance. We don't know if Occupy Wall Street protesters and their Solidarity sympathizers plan any kind of a similar demonstration to the police. We'll, of course, keep you posted on that. The earlier arrest took place without violence, with very little incident. I think, from the early observation of it, the anti-war piece of the Occupy Wall Street movement has always been very prominent. It is a direct nexus that people say to why the U.S. government doesn't have money, and why it's in so much debt is because they spend a lot of that money in fighting military conflicts overseas. In terms of its branching off, I would say since the eviction of the protesters in Zuccotti Park, a place where for 8 weeks you could find a wide range of issues that people were talking about, it's believed that the Occupy Wall Street organizers have now chosen to target the various interests throughout the city and throughout the country, when the opportunity presents itself. Tomorrow will be a demonstration that will start at the Egyptian consulate and go to an undisclosed location. That will be to protest the use of poisonous gases in warfare. As many people know through history, Saddam Hussein, who is the person that they thought would use weapons of mass destruction against NATO and U.S. foreign forces, was a person who did use weapons of mass destruction in the Iraq war with the Republic of Iran. And those weapons of mass destruction were purchased from the United States government. Well, it's an excellent question, Mazhar, because in fact it is. Just imagine the pie that was once a very large pie that could be sliced up by all of these defense contractors is now a smaller pie, especially with the U.S. voters paying very close attention to the amount of money that's being spent. Now it is a scramble by these companies now to try to get their share of the shrinking war profiteering pie. That's the only way I can describe it. So what they are trying to do here now is plan their strategies for making the U.S. a long-term customer, but they have to now fight over what they're going to buy, and they'll have to, because the U.S. government has to now set priorities. Is it going to be planes, bombs, electronics? What are they going to do with that money that is now going to be $500 billion less because of automatic cuts that have gone into place because that super committee in Washington could not come to a deal on deficit spending cuts?
How many kids did you kill today?
Well, this is a conference that's gone on for 17 years, and quite frankly, if it weren't for the Occupy Wall Street movement that started 8 weeks ago, there's an anti-war movement that is present in this country, but before 8 weeks ago, if the Occupy Wall Street movement had not taken place, it'd probably be safe to say that the people who would be out here demonstrating would probably be 1, 2, or 3, maybe certainly less than 5 people who would come to this would come to protest something like this. But to get back to your earlier point about the Occupy Wall Street movement garnering so many interests of different issues that people are upset about, now they can essentially pool their resources and protest against these different issues for the immediate foreseeable future and draw more attention to it. And certainly this protest is a sign of the Occupy Wall Street movement and its presence on social and political issues in this country.
Today.